Lost in colors? Unveiling Laozi's insight into the temptations of materialism. Have you ever lost your way in a world full of colorful distractions? In this episode, we will guide you through the ancient wisdom that spans 1,000 years, exploring the profound insights of Laozi's Dao De Jing, Chapter 12. With his concise and profound words, Laozi reveals how the material world can bewilder and enslave the human spirit. Join us as we delve into Laozi's philosophy and interpret how he advocates for a return to inner peace and contentment. Laozi Chapter 12. Beyond the temptations of the senses, 5 colors can blind the eye, 5 tones can deafen the ear, 5 flavors can dull the taste, the pursuit of hunting and pleasure can drive one to madness, rare goods can lead one astray. Therefore, the sage seeks to fill the belly, not to feast the eyes, thus discarding the latter and choosing the former. Its vernacular meaning is not complicated. 5 colors can dazzle the eyes, 5 tones can deafen the ears, 5 flavors can numb the taste buds, indulging in hunting and entertainment can lead to inner chaos, rare items can cause one to act immorally. Thus, the sage seeks only to satisfy hunger rather than to indulge in visual pleasures, thereby rejecting the temptations of material desires and valuing inner fulfillment. Laozi here reminds us that the excessive pursuit of sensory stimulation and material enjoyment can cause us to lose inner peace and clarity. He encourages us to seek a deeper level of satisfaction, one that transcends the material world. This passage may not sound complex, but the 5 situations mentioned can lead people into predicaments. The first 3 are related to colors, sounds, and flavors, which had significant meaning in ancient times. Let's explain them separately. Firstly, 5 colors can dazzle the eyes. In fact, we now watch television and movies in full color, and while 5 colors can certainly cause visual fatigue over time, it is not usually that serious. In ancient times, people did not have these technological products, and colors were mostly natural. The 5 colors mentioned are clearly artificially arranged. The number 5 is particularly significant and is associated with the 5 elements in ancient thought. There are 2 interpretations of the 5 elements. The earliest interpretation refers to 5 natural materials found in the world, elements that were prevalent in nature and essential for daily life. This concept is discussed in the Book of Documents Hong Fan, which mentions 5 important substances found in nature. The Hong Fan also mentions 9 categories important for human life and the socio-political structure, the first of which is the 5 elements. The order of these elements is water, fire, wood, metal, and earth. This order has its own significance within the Hong Fan, but it doesn't have much use outside of that context. So, we should remember the order of the 5 elements: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. Why should we remember this order? Because this sequence represents the generative cycle in a clockwise direction. Wood fuels fire, fire creates earth, earth gives birth to metal, metal collects water, and water nourishes wood. If you skip one, it becomes a controlling cycle. Wood controls earth, fire controls metal, earth controls water, water controls fire, and metal controls wood. This is easy to remember, just memorize it: wood, fire, earth, metal, water. This knowledge is helpful for understanding many ancient texts. This sequence is also completely consistent with the 5 colors, 5 tones, and 5 flavors. For example, when we talk about the 5 colors, they are green, red, yellow, white, and black, which correspond perfectly with the previous: wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. So why do the 5 colors dazzle the eyes? Simply put, it's because they are artificial. But in nature, no matter how many colors, including the 7 colors of the spectrum, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet, we encounter them daily, but they don't have much impact when not artificially placed together. The difference lies in whether they are natural or artificial. The 5 colors we know: green, red, yellow, white, and black correspond to the 5 tones of the Chinese musical scale: gong, shang, ju, ji, and yu. There's no need to play these tones here. In fact, human ears can discern much more subtle differences. So why don't they deafen us? Because they are natural, and there's no problem with that. We often hear the croaking of frogs, the barking of dogs, the crowing of roosters, the chirping of birds, the neighing of horses, and the mooing of cows in nature, and we don't have any special feelings about it, nor do we feel deafened. On the contrary, our ears feel comfortable and happy. Why? Because these sounds emitted by all things in nature do not bring any pressure. However, music made by humans, including human speech, carries certain meanings, hoping to convey and be understood, hoping not to be misunderstood. This brings pressure and creates troubles. The sounds made by humans are meaningful. Just like the word meaning, which is composed of sound and heart, becomes meaning. So the sounds made by humans, including the musical notes of gong, shang, ju, ji, and yu, can create pressure and even make you feel deafened by constant repetition. Zhuangzi mentioned a concept called the sounds of humans, earth, and heaven. Human sounds refer to sounds made by humans, including music made by bamboo instruments like flutes. These sounds can become pressuring and monotonous when heard too much. Earth sounds represent the sounds of nature, such as the rustling of the wind through the bamboo forest, the crashing of waves against rocks, and the sound of rain. These are the sounds of nature, and they do not convey any meaning, which is called natural. What is heavenly sound? Heavenly sound is basically not heard by the ears or thought by the mind, but is felt by the qi. We will further explain this when we discuss Zhuangzi. It is no longer a matter of hearing but an attitude towards listening. It is about dissolving all your attachments to all things and entering a state of emptiness. Then all the sounds you hear belong to heavenly sound. Let's look at the third one. 5 flavors make the mouth numb. It's reasonable to have a variety of dishes during meals. The 5 flavors numb the taste buds. These 5 flavors follow the order of the 5 elements: sour, bitter, sweet, pungent, and salty, which correspond to wood, fire, earth, metal, and water. Let's add more here about how they correspond. For example, wood is sour because the fruits of trees are sour, fire is bitter because things burnt by fire are bitter, earth is sweet because the grains grown in the soil are sweet, metal is pungent because the smell during metal smelting is very pungent, water is salty, and in the end, it returns to the sea, which is salty. So these sour, bitter, sweet, pungent, and salty flavors are the 5 flavors. If you have all 5 flavors at once, it's like you're saying a bite of China, where many dishes can make you feel overwhelmed and lose your sense of taste. If you adopt a natural lifestyle, eating more vegetables and fruits, any flavor won't bring too much pressure. This is also a distinction between artificial and natural. This is 5 flavors make the mouth numb. These 3 are related to the senses, directly related to vision, hearing, and taste. So its principle is very simple. Natural is no problem, artificial is deliberately trying to meet your sensory needs, and after satisfaction, it may cause the expansion of desire, called desire breeds disaster. Desire is deeper than the bottomless abyss. Westerners say that desire is like a snowball, starting with a small ball and turning into a huge mass, and human desire is the same. So if a person lives according to their needs, it is easy to be satisfied. If they live according to their desires, that's trouble. Then it mentions, indulging in hunting and pleasure drives one mad. This is what is said today. If you are addicted to pleasure, some people like street racing, some like gambling, all of which can drive one crazy. That is, the more you indulge, the deeper you get. Finally, rare goods led people astray. You can see a lot of news, all stolen, robbed, and cheated are more precious things. If there is a tree by the road, it bears some fruit, or there are some bricks by the road, who will pick them up? In Shishuo Sinew, there is a small story. We all know the 7 sages of the bamboo grove, one of whom is Wang Rong. At the age of 7, he was particularly smart. Once, many children went out to play together on the street and saw a plum tree by the road, which bore a lot of plums, almost hanging to the ground. The children saw it and rushed to pick the plums to eat. Only Wang Rong stood still. The adults were very curious and asked him, "Why don't you pick the plums to eat?" Wang Rong said a word. He said, "This plum tree grows by the road and bears a lot of plums. It must be bitter." This is the so-called bitter plums by the road. So he was a smart child and didn't eat it. Why? Because it's not rare at all. Interestingly, there is an Arab poet named Gibran, who wrote a very short article. He said that a man had a pomegranate tree at home, and the pomegranates were very good, and he couldn't eat them all by himself, so he picked the pomegranates and put them in front of his house, with a sign next to it saying free, welcome to take. As a result, no one came to take it during the summer vacation. The next day, he changed his strategy. He picked the pomegranates and put them in a basin at the door of his house, and then said that the price was very expensive, and those who wanted to buy, please inquire inside, and as a result, they were all sold out. What does this mean? It means that the more expensive you are, the more someone may buy. If it's free and given away, others think it's probably a substandard product, or something you don't want. This is exactly what Laozi said. Rare items led people astray. So the 5 situations mentioned by Laozi are what we can encounter in life. So what should we do? So the sage appears later, the sage. So what should the sage do? How should he govern the people? Because the situation of the people is the first 5 situations. So what should he do? So he has to make a choice. When he chooses to teach the ruled, he only seeks to be full, not to be dazzling. The so-called full is to let you eat and drink enough, and not to give you any other complex desires. Because people's cognition often starts from distinction. Once you have a distinctive cognition, you immediately have to distinguish which one is better, which one is worse, and then people will pursue the better one. In the end, there will be competition, various complex problems. And do not seek to be dazzling. Dazzling is represented by the first of these 5 colors make people blind. That is, he does not want you to be dazzled, through the stimulation of desire, let you pursue greater desires. So Laozi wants to grasp this principle, let you eat and drink enough, and not let you have too many desires. This is the strategy adopted by the sage as the enlightened ruler in ancient society. So Laozi's principle is that everything should be used to nourish people with things, not enslave people with things. Nourish people is to support people, support everyone. So if you only seek to be full, it is nourish people with things. If you pursue dazzling, it is enslave people with things. This enslave is the enslave of corvée labor, which is to enslave people with all things, to control people. So the sage will not consider the needs of the eyes, will not pursue dazzling. So what does the content of this chapter explain? It explains that people have life, and also have a heart, the body has sensory functions, will produce various complex desires, and cannot withstand the temptation of these desires, because it is a standard distinction. When you distinguish, you hope the more the better, compare with others, and in the end, various complex desires may drive people crazy, and people's behavior may violate discipline and law. So from this, we can know that people are quite weak and cannot withstand temptation, which is the situation of ordinary people. So looking at it today, Laozi may also find it hard to imagine, because today's education is popular, and wisdom is greatly enlightened. But even if your education is popular, you can still get some inspiration from Laozi in personal cultivation, that is, to pay more attention to taking care of your body, and to your own desires. You should appropriately restrain, otherwise the more you know, the more troubles and pains you may bring. Isn't that an unnecessary mistake? Finally, you can think about it. Laozi describes the state of people's life and heart after that, and finally chooses I try to eat my stomach full, and do not seek to be dazzling. In fact, there is still a vast space between these two. We don't have to make an absolute distinction between these two today like Laozi. So I would like to ask, what do you think is the right proportion? Is it enough to use half the effort to take care of the stability of your own life, or the other half needs to develop various achievements outside? In other words, do you think there is a different proportion? Can you think about this question? I want to know your answer.